Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer LB4312C-350-633. So the Bommer LB4312C is representative of the fact that this is a single acting spring hinge. LB means that it's a maintenance-free style of bearing specific to Bommer. The 4312 is representative of the fact that this is 4312C is representative of the fact that this is a commercial grade thickness on the leaf. Okay, in a template pattern with a 5/8 radius. Okay, so the 4312C means thicker leaf, commercial grade thickness, template pattern on the screws, and a 5/8 radius. The 3.5 stands for the size. That means that it's 3.5 inches wide and 3.5 inches tall. So in hinges like this, the height dimension always comes first. So it's 3.5 inches tall and 3.5 inches wide. The 633 means that it is in the satin brass finish. Typical satin brass color, very common for residential applications. This is a very nice finish by Bommer. Has a nice brushed satin brass finish to it. So it's a single acting spring hinge, and what that means is you're going to get with it that black tension rod that you see there, and then the little silver pin seen there vertically in the, well, okay, at the bottom falling down. That's the tension pin. So a tension rod and a tension pin, and those relate to how you set the tension on the spring hinge. Now, before we get into showing that, there are guidelines below this video in terms of how many hinges you're going to want to use based on your application. So first, if this a 3.5 inch hinge, you're probably dealing with an 1 3/8 door. If you've got an 1 3/4 door, you'd be able to use 4-inch hinges. And the fact that it's a 5/8 radius certainly tells me that it's a wood door and a wood frame, residential most likely in nature. If you're dealing with 70-pound doors, and up to really only 3 foot by 7 foot doors, up to 70-pound doors, you're looking at 2 spring hinges. And if you're going to push up to about a 90-pound door, 3 spring hinges is what Bommer recommends. I'm a fan of all spring hinges. If you're on the borderline, and they're relatively inexpensive enough to justify that argument, the reasoning is I've had a lot better success when I've got more spring hinges on a door rather than not enough. Because what happens to get a door to close, and if you don't have the adequate quantity of spring hinges compared to the door weight and size, you really have to set the tension high on the spring hinges that you are installing to get enough inertia through the opening to get the door to move. And sometimes you can get it set so fast that it actually slams quite hard. And I have found that when I've got, say, all spring hinges, I get a much greater success rate at the door closing, and the important part is to latch without having to build up enough inertia where it's slamming closed. It's like torque, like a tugboat. Not real fast, but they can pull a lot. And I get that same sort of analogy when I'm talking about spring hinges in my head, because that last 12 inches or so, that's really where you got to control the door better, and having more spring hinges allows you to get it, to keep tension on that door to keep it moving through the closing cycle. You don't want it to slam. Slamming is bad. It's going to damage the frame. Sometimes it slams so hard that it'll spring back open, actually, if there's misalignment in what you're doing. Although mixing and matching this hinge with a standard 3.5 inch hinge is no problem, because that axis of pivoting is going to be completely compatible with what it is that you're working on. Before we talk about adjusting, it's going to come with half wood screws, half machine screws. At least this package does. If you have need for some sort of situation other than that, indicate in the comment field all wood screws, all metal screws, half and half, whatever. So now, setting the tension, and the instructions are on the back of the box that you'll get as well, but the bottom line is it's quite simple. Tension collar you want to have up. Okay, you always want that to be up. And you're always going to turn the tension collar, and that's the item with the holes in it, using your tension rod. You're going to want to turn that clockwise. So like this, and as I turn that tension collar, setting tension on the spring, you can see I reveal new holes there. And it's into one of those new holes that you're going to insert the tension pin. And that's what's going to keep the tension on the spring inside of there. You can come back and crank it over a couple of more times to make sure that you get the proper amount of spring tension set on this. I recommend installing these at the top first, top and middle, or top, middle, and bottom. You can always add more later on down the road should it become necessary. Good quality product by Bommer, very good quality. They have a full complement of spring hinges, multiple sizes, multiple corner dimensions, multiple thicknesses, multiple different locations of the screw holes, and of course sizes. Okay. Last thing I'd like to show you is the Bommer logo. You can see right above there it says Made in USA, a fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to represent them. If you have any questions on the Bommer LB4312C-350-633 single acting spring hinge or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you very much.